It is I, Speed the Hedgehog here, and today I'm gonna go through my backstories of my life, of how I was before. But to be honest though, my backstories are just a lot more than I used to be a kid before. Anyways, let's get started of how I used to go through my life stories, of how my life was never seen before. When I was a kid back in 2011, I realized that I liked about Sonic, and and I used to have to pull myself together. When I used to calm down, I um, pull myself together. Ever since I already took my accountability and responsibility for my actions, it's not. I tell them it's not even fair. It's not even good enough. It's just how I could just do things on my own. Like, wish I could be independent of how I would do things on my own. Maybe I'm just not the same thing. Like Rolanda, for example. I'm just, maybe I just don't fit in. Maybe I was fitting in, but I'm just going through my life of my backstories. But since I was a kid in the year of 2010, I never had any friends in 2010. I never had my, I never had technology in 2010, and I've been handling myself and pulling myself together. And ever since I used to make friends who I recognize. I remember I used to meet Spire the Dragon and who else? Um, um, Chris Boyd and who else? Aiden in 2022. That's where I used to meet Spire in 2022. That was then a year ago when I was a kid. A year ago when I never had anything back then. I used to be a kid. Then I grown into a, and then in 2022 I grown to be a minor. And then sooner or later I would be ready to be independent. Not just any luck, but understanding my backstories of how I used to do with my life. And I've been going through my life over the past 3 years, and I haven't learned anything under that time is how I used to be. But to be honest though, if I would have a career or a job, then I would just go to work. Go to work. Then I used to have enough. The past years that I've been going through, took my accountability. Ever since I took it, I still took it. And I honestly doing with my life is how I pull myself together. I gotta be brave, be strong, and be sensitive. That's how I'd rather do. And as a matter of fact, I remember when I used to be friends with Delta Ray and who else? Rolanda, Victoria, Ranhard, and other friends that I used to know back then. But I'm just trying to create a new life. Maybe I should get a new life rather than just being on my own. If I'd rather be independent. I really miss all of you. If I can understand my backstories, then they said if they maybe I could turn this thing around and just change my life and or get a new life. Maybe if I get a new life, then I will have to not worry about anything. Then anything I used to have was in me. And I remember listening to classical songs on the radio. Then, honestly, I hope my life would be very better of how I used to be before. Then, of what I really used to be from years ago. But hopefully, I'll have a better life than how I'd rather be when I become independent. Then, would I rather be when I grew up? I'd rather become an artist, or a bus driver, or a taxi driver. I could be anything. Anything I could be when I get older. You could be anything, like how to become a fireman, a doctor, or any types of things that you want to be. You could be a chef or a rock star. For me, maybe I'd rather be independent if I'm ready to live on my own. Hmm. Then then in 20 then in 2019, I remember when COVID used to come back in 2020. Boy, boy, I don't really like COVID so much. So in 2019, that was before when COVID come. But then 2020, I remember when I used to wear a mask because it's all COVID. Just about COVID. You all remember COVID 19 back in 2020. Everybody in 2019, everybody got to stay in the house because of COVID in 2020. But in 2022, the COVID is now gone. And that's when I never met Rolando for the first time. And what I'm trying to tell everyone is how my life was never been the same. Maybe I just gotta pull myself together and be strong and be brave and not scared of anything. Except that they still keeping mad of how I used to be a young kid. Back then, I was scared when I was a kid, but not anymore. I'm gonna be brave. I'm old enough, and I'm always brave. Maybe if I'm a minor, I'm always brave. Just like when Luigi was brave back from the Mario Bros. Movie. But then, something in my realm when I ever had anything like, don't you ever be afraid of. You just gotta be strong and be brave. Let's say if you are afraid of clowns, and you just gotta say, I would be brave enough to be afraid of anything. And you ever disown, if you ever get running away from home, you got no place to go and nowhere to some bad trouble, and you can end up getting lost. And not be to be perfect, but when you get down right to it, there is no place like home. Hopefully they understand this when I'm like going through my backstories. And Orlando, if you're watching this, I'm going through my life and my backstories. The part where I never met you back in 2020. But in I was a young kid when I never had a friend in 2010. Then I never met Rolanda in 2010. I never met Jad in 2010. And I never met Coco in 2010. Maybe I'm just the same. But if I'm gonna be honest to myself, I remember one time I used to go to a swimming pool in a hotel, take the bus, driving all the way to New York. And take the train. But in conclusion, when I went on a when I went on vacation, summer vacation, I remember I used to look at the big Concorde, and when I look under the museum. But in 2021, I remember I used to go on vacation to go to Washington, and you could say how I remember I could used to look at the Capitol, at the Capitol building. But I'm going through my life of how I used to be back then. Whenever I get lost, I just gotta be brave, be extra, and be happy. Just like just like when heroes had to be brave, be strong, and be sensitive. And hopefully and I hope they would go well with my backstories over the past 3 years. Because when I used to have friends back then, I don't re- re- rely on my. Oh, if I would have be reunited, I would have be reunited from years ago. Just like when Rolanda decided not to talk to me anymore. I hope what Rolanda would understand about my backstories. I guess everybody just went to bed. But you all understand what I'm saying. Hopefully they would have tried to at least, if I would have improved my behavior, hopefully I would get better soon. Maybe in a year of 2027 I could be on own, in 2028. I hope I would have see Cars 4 when it comes out. Maybe in 2028 or 2027 where Cars 4 comes out in the theater. Honestly, Cars 4 will be coming out eventually. I honestly can't wait for Cars 4. But you know how my life goes. Of how I was so young. Not afraid of anything. But If I wanna be on my own, I gotta be doing lots of chores, lots of work, and lots of house cleaning. Just like you, Rolanda, you gotta do lots of chores and house cleaning to make everyone proud. Yep, whenever I've ever been single before, all I gotta do is just talk nicely. Just like how I wanted to talk something very nice. And not to be mad, I was a kid back then. By going through my life and trying to be brave. If I honestly want to improve my behavior, I was hoping they would try to be nice to me and understand what I'm going through in my backstories. Because what I'm going through in my life, and that's, yeah, if I was a kid back then, I gotta try my best to be brave, be strong, and be happy. That's how I do. I gotta be strong, be brave, and be sensitive. And the moral of the story is how I used to be is how I graduated from high school. And back then I used to be I used to work at a shop right with school students. Next thing you know, understanding my backstories is how I used to be. But in conclusion, I will go through my life and how I could be brave, be strong, and also be happy of how my life was supposed to be. So you all understand my backstories. That's right. Even Rolando will try to understand what I'm saying. Same goes to you, Victoria. Whenever you had a backstory, just say something about how you were a kid. Same goes to you, Jamie Wolf. Besides, I really missed you so much. Being there for your heart and being friends is how you used to be back then. But a good friend is how you would treat manners. And most of all, if I were to be brave enough, not not being sensitive or not being scared, all I gotta do is to be strong, be brave, and be happy. When I used to be afraid of the dark, see ghosts, I just gotta be brave, be strong, and not scared of ghosts. Besides, I used to be afraid of ghosts back then, but then not anymore. And I used to be afraid of lightning, but not anymore. I'm completely strong enough. I'm completely powerful. I'm completely brave. I gotta be brave. It's how you be brave. Telling how my backstories used to be a wonderful backstory. And then going through my life is how I never supposed to be. I never wanted to be grounded. I never wanted to be in trouble. I just want to be who I am. Going through my life, through my backstories. But to be honest though, whenever I'm going through my life, it's how I gotta be independent. How I gotta be, how I could get a new life. Probably if I would get a new life, probably I would be having a new life. a new life of how I used to be. It's not it's not about how you get mad. It's to talk about how you get a new life. But it's not talking about hurting people's feelings. It's how you about getting a new life. But how my backstory was gone through of how I used to be a kid. All you gotta do is be brave, be strong, and be happy. And not to be sensitive, but I gotta be brave, be strong, and be happy. And maybe if I would have got a new life, I would have tried to understand what is this supposed to be. And my life of myself is how I gotten through. Sooner or later, I might actually have a job, but no breaks and no hard feelings. No break, just only working on the job. But if you want to be if I want to be smart enough, I just gotta look something that can help me get through with my life. Just like how I took an accountability. If you haven't seen my last stream of how I took my accountability, how I took my accountability back then. But hopefully Rolando will understand what I'm saying. Because I've been going through a lot of backstories because I've been going through my life. But then years later, whenever I get older, whenever I get Braven, whenever I maybe if I would have been a casino, I would have become rich. But I gotta go to work, independent, get a job, get lots of money, earn some stuffs, or maybe get a job, get paid. It's like getting a job when you raise your own money. When I used to be a kid, I never make a lemonade stand. I never was a kid when I ever make a lemonade stand and earn money. But my life is how I used to be. If I want to improve my behavior, I'll just tell them and say, I was going through my life with my backstories and how I used to be back then. That way, when I don't even remember you, I don't even remember Rolanda in 2010. I don't even remember Delta Ray in 2010. I don't even remember Spyra in 2010. Back then, I used to be a kid back in 2010, and I used to be a baby in 2005. And I met my grandparents in Irel, my grandparents. And ever since, I used to be a kid, but I'm not. But I miss being a kid. But mostly, I'm never being I'm never being scared. I'm never gonna be frightened. I gotta be strong, be brave, and be truthful, and be sensitive, and not scared of anything. And in conclusion, my life is how I was pulling myself together. I gotta pull myself together. And to top it off, I would have tried at least if they would have if Orlando would forgive me, then I'll stay. Just like ever since Sadie and Tails used to be alone, but he was adopted by Graceland. And then Sadie and Tails is now and now she has a and now Sadie and Tails has a mother named Graceland. And now Sonic can call Sadie and Tails a father. Just like when Uncle Chuck. Hi, Oliver. Hope everything is okay. Hi, Sally. Everything's okay now. Just going through my backstories of how I used to be a kid back then. Back then, back in 2010, I used to be a kid when I was scared of things like spiders, thunder, ghosts in the dark. But but when I'm not scared of anything. I feel like I'm gonna be brave enough. Don't you get it? I'm gonna be brave. And hopefully Jamie Wolf and Victoria will understand of my backstories. If Jamie Wolf, if you're watching this, Jamie Wolf, I just want to say I'm sorry for cheating you. And Rolanda, I really missed you. And if you're all watching this, I'm sorry for what I was going through. I should understand of my backstories of my life. Maybe I should get a new life. Back then, when I met Spyra for the first time, and I met Sally for the first time back in 2022. I think it was 2021. That I remember that. I remember that from years ago. It's all coming back to me now. But now, I realize I gotta be brave, be strong, and be sensitive. Not scared of anything. And my entire backstory was just about life changing. It's how I used to be back then. I'm not I'm not doing anything. I just gotta maybe just like maybe if I could turn this thing around, people would understand my backstories. The year when I never met Delta Ray for the first time. I think it was in 2022 where I met Delta Ray. But my life is how I never be. Is how I was a kid back then. But then, if you ever want to know if you have your own backstories, you just gotta say, I have a backstory back then. And I ever get adopted. And if you ever ready to be in a, if you ever want to be something, just gotta be who you are. You're not scared of anything. You can even help your friends to help out. Say you need if someone friends ask you something, you say, "Hey, you need help, friends?" And then the friend kid will say, "Sure, I can help you with that. What do you need help with? Writing a drawing? Oh, writing something on the paper?" And he's like, "Sure, I'll help with that." But ask a grown up if you want to be independent. Whenever they get scared, they just gotta take a deep breath and be calm. Take a deep breath and be calm. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. So yeah, that's how I used to be back in back in back in back in middle school. I mean, back in elementary school. I used to be a kid in elementary, in first grade or second grade, in 2010. That day when I don't even have a Sonic plush for the first time, and I got a Sonic plush. And some of the things I had to do with my life is how I get a new life, like helping each other out, like going through life changing. It's just part of friends for. Like, let's see if I want to offer a hug, you need to ask permission if you want a hug, or just be nice to each other. It's just like how I used to hug someone else, like Spyra or Sonic. You just gotta pull yourself together. If Rolanda's hearing this about my life changing and my backstories, she would have forgiven me, including Jamie Wolf. If she would have forgiven me, I would have tried to apologize for cheating. It's just role playing, not IRL, but role playing. It's how I used to be a kid back from years ago. Back then, I used to watch Sonic X when I was a kid. But in years ago, whenever you get scared, just gotta be brave, be strong, and be happy. That's how you normally do. How they normally do is to talk to someone, treat some manners, be nice to everyone, and be truthful. It's simple. Simple. Be truthful. It's how they treat someone nice. Like how to be independent. Oh yeah, Sonic X, totally my favorite Sonic show before Sonic Boom and Sonic Prime was my childhood after Link, Mario and Link Pac-Man. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, Sally, the Sonic Boom show, and and I was never born in the '90s. Back then, when I remember having a Sega Genesis, but I never had a Sega Genesis in 2010. That was part of having life support, life changing, and going through backstories. If you ever had a backstory, you can just tell someone about your own backstory. Let's say that I was trying to talk to Victoria, and back then I never had a Switch 2 in 2024. Yeah, 2010. That's when the Nintendo's. But in 2017, the original Switch was invented. That's when I got my hands on the Nintendo Switch. But then in 2025, I got my first hands on the Switch 2. Because I've always wanted to have a job, but pretty much I might have a job eventually. But now you have a Sega Genesis like now before. Yeah, I know. Yep, Sally. That's how I got the Sega Genesis. Yeah, just how I used to discuss my backstory. Back then, I never met Rolanda in 2020. I never met Victoria in 2020. But years ago, but then, to be honest, when I went through my life back in the old days, maybe if I would have used it, imagine if I had a time machine, I would have go back in time and see how my life was supposed to be. Yep, and that's how I used to have my life. Gotta pull myself together, be strong, and be brave. Whenever you had a friends, or you ever had any friends, just say, just met someone that you gotta introduce yourself. Just say hi, nice to meet you, and say your name, like how my backstories met new friends back in my lifetime. That's where I used to be a kid back then. Back when I used to have some other friends in back in high school. But in the end, everybody just wants to have a better life and new life of how I used to be grown, of how I used to be a kid, or probably if you ever need any help, just gotta ask someone who can help, or you can trust someone. Yeah, you never need any help, just say, hey, you can ask for help and say you gotta tell someone who you really know. When I was a kid, I didn't have friends before. When I was a kid, I didn't have friends before I feel the same way you do. Oh, yes, that's true, Sally. That's a true thinking. Yeah, yep, Sally, that's what I'm talking about. But you're always the coolest one. Hopefully, hopefully, Rolando, Delta Ray, and everyone else are trying to understand about my backstories. Well, hopefully they would try to at least maybe restore ties with me. And then back then, when I watched about the Powerpuff Girls, I was like, wow, this show is really awesome. Back then, and I when I got so interested in Star Fox is that when I was watching a Mario Galaxy movie, I didn't know Star Fox McCloud make an appearance in the movie, but Mario Galaxy movie, the Star Fox. Back in 2017, the SNES Classic Edition was invented, and the unreleased of Star Fox 2 was invented. The game that was unreleased. Star Fox 2. The game that was unreleased. Back then, back in the 90s, they were trying to make Star Fox 2, but then sadly they decided to cancel it because they were focusing on Star Fox 64. But then years later, in 2017, Star Fox 2 has returned. Pop-Up Girls are my favorite show as a kid on Cartoon Network. Until now, some shows they, they still show on TV. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully they'll understand of what I'm going through with my life. Maybe if I would get a new life, but there's Starbucks, but there's Switch 2 Starbucks only. Oh yeah, I didn't I didn't bought the game. I didn't pre-order the game. I was just like saving up until I get the game. Until I get the game, I'm really gonna buy that Starbucks game. Like, just like Starbucks 64. I usually play Starbucks 64 on my Switch too. But hopefully my life will be now better nowadays. Of how my life was been. And I'm trying to go through my life is how I usually met Rolando for the first time. I think maybe in 2022. I never see Rolando's channel. Hopefully she'll understand what my life was going through. Like I remember when I played Wii Sports. And then I remember when I used to be a kid, I played Wii Sports for several ages nowadays. Yeah. That's how my backstories when I was a young kid. I learned how to be brave, be strong, and be sensitive. I've been going through a lot more over the past years. That day when I met Sally for the first time, I think it was in 2021 or 2022, I guess. And I remember I used to play Smash Bros. Brawl on the Wii. And I got an N64 and played Smash Bros. 64 on the N64. Those are my lucky childhood memories. Going through my backstories. When I was a minor, I didn't get Grand Theft Auto because I was never ready to have Grand Theft Auto 5 or Grand Theft Auto 4. But then years later, I finally got Grand Theft Auto Trilogy for the Switch 2. If you remember, back from years ago. Back then, I used to have one. When I waited for the Switch to be released, then I played more. You used you used your channel called Stephen O before you changed your nicknames. Do you come with it? Yeah, but we don't talk about that anymore. But Inspire usually called me Oliver back then. 2022. I remember how Spyra usually called me Oliver. That's so sweet of you, Spyra. I really miss you. Soon, we'll meet again, eventually. But in but then years later, back in the old days, whenever back then, I played Sonic Colors on the DS and the Wii. Some old school games. My Switch, my original Switch. Back then, a year ago, I used to be. Maybe if I would have changed my life, if I would have get a new life, I would have be independent. If I try to understand what I'm saying, then I would be very much better. If I would have at least get that play button award. If I didn't get that play button award, it's okay. I never actually had a play button. Then I started playing Mario Sport Mix on the Wii. Back in 2022, I was started streaming playing Mario Kart Wii. Maybe if I would have playing on Revisited, playing the game, hopefully they would understand. Hopefully, hopefully, Orlando would understand on my backstories. Yeah, because this channel called out Spire the Dragon, who called you Oliver. That's why I called you Oliver, unless you're okay with it. By saying your name and had her live stream. Yes, Sally, I remember that. By going through my life. Soon, everyone will start being nice to me. I'm sure of it. And I'm sure Rolanda will try to forgive me of how I'm going through my life. Hopefully, Rolanda, if you're hearing this, I was trying to go through my life. Plus, Sadie, plus, Rolanda, you had your own brother named Sonic, and you have your own father named Tails, Rolanda. And also, Sadie and Tails really misses you so much. He misses you so much, Rolanda. You still talked to her before. Yeah, I'm hoping that Spire will return eventually. Yep, Sally. By going through my life back then, I really miss Rolanda so much. If I would have tried to forgive her by taking accountabilities, they would have understood what I'm saying. But then, a couple of years ago, probably I would be going through my life and my backstories. Back then, when I go to the New York City, I saw a big Christmas tree with my family on a big trip to New York. And what I'm trying to talk to Rolanda of my backstories of how I used to be a kid. Hopefully, Rolanda would try to understand of what I'm saying. I'm going through my life back then. But if you wanna, maybe if Box McCloud would have Victoria, what if she can have Box McCloud and I can have Jamie Wolf? Or maybe Jamie Gitsun or Jamie Kayla? Hmm. Similar. They're just similar to Jamie Foxx or Jamie Sulu? Hmm. I'll probably figure it out when I try to talk to Rolanda. If I would have tried to talk to Rolanda of how my life was going through, then she would try to understand what I'm saying. Hopefully, hopefully they would understand. Even Delta Ray and Ranhard and Coco and even Angie of what I'm going through in my life. I'm not the same thing as I'm not the same thing as Angie. I'm not the same thing as Luther or any other things that I've done so far. I was going through my life and my backstories of how I used to be a kid. I remember when I used to call Rolanda sister, and then she used to have a mom. And sooner or later, maybe I'll be back again with Rolanda. Hopefully, she'll understand. Maybe I'd rather be ungrounded. Sooner or later, they'll try to forgive me. If they see this stream, I'll just say, hey, we might felt wrong about Speedy. He was going through his backstories. Hopefully, they would have tried to forgive me. Maybe instead of, you could just create your own things. Like, how to create your drawing, how to create something. But you gotta ask permission, give them credit. That's how I usually normally do. Hopefully, they would try to understand what I'm saying. Sooner or later, I would be a good person. Sooner or later, I might get my Delta Ray will try to forgive me, and all of my friends, including Rolanda, would forgive me also. And plus, I would try my own life story. My own. I would get a new life. I want to be independent, and I want to be on my own. That's how I normally do. Be independent. When I ask them what I want to be when I grow up, be independent. Help with your life, and help with a back in New York. Just like of how I used to be back then. Maybe I should get a new life and have. But then I would find something new, find something to create, and help something out, like helping others. Who would have treat someone better? And when I go through my life, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to seek out for attention. I'm trying to be nice to them and help them out. I'm not mad at them. I'm not angry at them. I just want to be independent. Focus on your path and always believe your own strength and learn something new. Yep, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Learn something new, focus on my strength, like take out the trash, clean the bathroom, and all the things I need to do. Hopefully Victoria will see my stream. Even Rolanda, Reinhardt, and other my friends, even Fun Stone Bowser Jr. will try to understand my backstories. And even Sonic really likes about Graceland, and Elisa likes Tails, my plush, my RP character Tails. Remember when I used to make something out, focus on my strength, and be learning something new. You could simply say you're gonna take a break. Pretty much, I might take a break eventually. Maybe if I were to take a break, that I learned my lesson. How I used to learn. Then I learned my lesson back then. I'm not getting mad. I'm not gonna complain. I'm just trying to help them out. That's all I gotta say. And Aiden, if you're watching this, you'll probably understand what I'm going through with my backstories. You all knew what day is coming. And Dad, if you're hearing this, I'm going through with my backstories of how I used to be a kid. You can do better than that because you're a truly amazing friend who is a very sweet and kind. Oh, thanks, Sally. That's what I normally do. Thanks. And you're also awesome as well, Sally. Because pretty soon enough, when I get to be independent, I always gotta do my best. Try to focus on something new. And in conclusion, I gotta pull myself together and how I could become independent and be on my own. Yeah, I remember I used to watch some SNG4's videos, but then SNG4 retired. I really miss I really miss how SNG4 makes some cool videos. Yep, even Rolanda, Delta Ray, Good Gill, Ranhard, Bunso Bowser Jr., Victoria are truly good friends. And if you're hearing this, Rolanda, you're a good friend also. You're also my good mother. Plus, you don't have to you don't have to deal with all those stupidness. Just gotta be strong and be brave. Whenever you get scared, Rolanda, I always have you on your side. I'll always be with you. Whenever you get to be independent and all that. Same goes to you, Jamie Wolf. Whenever you be scared or be frightened, have nightmares, I'll always take care of you. Yep. Hopefully they'll understand what I'm going through over the past years. Hopefully they'll understand of my backstories. Even Rolanda, for example. They would wake up and see my stream and say, "Hey guys, I think we gotta carry the. Even you, Coco, you're the best friend I could ever had. My only pal ever had. And I'll always be here with you. Always, Coco. And I love Junior on the job, and I love Sonic the Hedgehog, and all the art and all the characters that you have, Coco. I'll always be with you." Hopefully, they would have forgiven me if I was going through my life. And Saturn House has his own mother named Graceland. And Javin Hill, if you're watching this, hopefully this will understand, and even you, Patrick, and friends. Even you, Cam. If I would have tried to be independent, I gotta be brave, be strong. And in the end, I'm doing now is how I focus on my life and new strength and be who I and learn something new. Hopefully, I would do a lot better. Like you, Jamie Wolf. You've always been the coolest girl in the world. And I'll always be here with you. Always. And I know you're still taken by Victoria. Maybe if because husband's supposed to be married to wifeys. If I was if I was Jamie Wolf's boyfriend, I would have tried to convince to talk to her of how I was going through my life. Yep, But in the end, what I'm learning now is some new something. If I'm learning something new, maybe if I would have take a break from the internet, take a break, how I learned my lesson. And Aiden, if you're watching this, I already deleted some of the Sonic plushies videos that I don't remember making them anymore. Aiden, if you're watching this, I'm going through my backstories of how I never met you, Aiden. Even you, Reinhardt. Even you, Orlando. Even you, Jamie Bull. Even you, Abby. You can still have, you still have my boom version of me. And yeah, my classic self is loved Sophia so much. I'll just say I was having a bit of a luck, having a lifetime. I've been going through a lot over the past years. Hopefully they would understand my backstories. If I was going through in my life, I just say, hey, I'm just starting to forgive you. Even you, Angie. I was trying to go through my life. Sorry, I'm sorry, but I had to break up with you, Angie. Because I was trying to help you with my life. Even you, Orlando. Don't you ever scare me like that. Because Sonic is gonna get mad at what you did. Your bro. Oh, hey, Speedy. Oh, hey, Sonic. What you doing? I'm just going through my life over the future, over the past years. Oh. Hey, Orlando, sis. I just want to say you don't have to be mad at him because he's just going through, because he's been going through over the past years. Plus, you don't have to be mad at him. You just wanna, you just wanna go through with his lifetime. Maybe he'll get a new life, and then you'll forgive him. What do you say, Rolanda? You hear what Sonic says? And hi, Graceland, baby. I miss you so much. I never get the chance to meet you. And I know you're the mother of Sadie M. Tails. And I'm the father of Sadie M. Tails. I would never lose everything. Whenever I want to be independent, I gotta be ready to be independent. And going through with my life. Yeah, you heard me, Rolanda. I'm talking to you because I'm going through with my life. I really missed your videos. I really missed your posts. I really miss talking to you and Delta Ray. And I'm talking to you, Delta Ray, also. I'm talking to you, Coco. I'm talking to you, Jad. I'm talking to you, Punk Ray. And I'm talking to you, Yotsuba. That's right. I'm talking to you, Yotsuba. I know what I'm going through in my life. I'm I'm going through with my backstories of how I used to be a kid. And I'm not scared. I'm gonna be brave and strong enough and be thoughtful. And I'm talking to you, Jamie Wolf. And I'm talking to you, Victoria. I'm talking to everyone that I used to be friends with. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna be strong, be brave, going through my lifetime, going through my backstories. And in conclusion, I'll have a better life in the future in 2017. And I'm also talking to you, Bunso Basil Jr., and I'm talking to you, Aiden, and I'm talking to you, Devin Hill, and, and I'm talking to you, Reinhardt. Whenever you had a whenever you had a son, just say like father, like son. And I'm talking to you, Coco. I love Junior on the job and everything else. I've been going through my backstories. How I used to be a kid. And now I feel like I deserve getting a new life. A life that could change everything. No matter no matter life is tough. No matter life is tough to have no matter life no matter life is tough, but we have to do we have to keep our heads up and forget the past, focus on the future. Yes, Sally. I guess that's all. And that's and in conclusion, I do. I gotta pull myself together, not to forget about the past. So yeah, and that's all my backstories of how I used to be back then. I was a kid. Anyways, that's all my backstories. Anyways, I gotta go to bed because it's getting late. And if you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe to me and help me reach the 2K. That's my goal to reach. Hopefully they will forgive me, especially you, Rolanda. I love all your I love all your posts that you posted, and I'm talking to you, good Gillis, also. I'm talking, and I'm going through my life, and that's all my life changing. Hopefully they will all forgive me. So, anyways, and also subscribe to Sally in the chat, so you don't miss videos and live stream. So, anyways, I gotta go to bed, and I'll see you all in the next video and live stream. Peace out, and gotta run. And also, good night. And I'll see you tomorrow morning. Zoom. And one more thing. Hopefully they all forgive me. Friendship is friendship is untrusted. No matter if they can deny their own mistakes, unless they want forgiveness. Good night. God bless.